All right, good evening, everybody. At this time, please silence your cell phones and be advised this proceedings are being recorded. For those physically present in the council chamber who desire to address the city council during the meeting, please complete the request to speak form available in the front entrance of the council chambers and present to the city clerk. Speakers physically present or participating via Zoom will be called upon at the appropriate time, and each person will be allowed 3 minutes of speaking time. Go call to order, convene as regular council, special council meeting workshop on Tuesday, June 27, 2023 at 5 p.m. Can you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? So, Deborah, we don't know if we have an AB 2449 disclosure. We know Ken's going to be coming in.
I don't believe so. I'm still reaching out to him, and I'll continue to work on that.
Okay, can we go ahead and have roll call, please?
I'm present.
Present.
I am here.
Present. Thank you. So item A, public comment. This is opportunity for members of the public to comment on items on the agenda only at the special meeting of the City Council pursuant to California law. The City Council will be taking public comments on items listed on the agenda. So do we have any public comments for this meeting?
Herman Hilke?
Mr. Hilke? That's it? Do you have a comment?
Did you want to see
On the regular meeting, but not the special.
Okay.
We have no public comment.
All right. Okay, so new business, priority workshop presented by City Manager Conrad.
We got our list up there? Oh, excellent. Oh, thank you, Deborah. You tidied it up and it looks good. Thank you. So what I'd really like to do is do this very casually as a true workshop. We really should be around a conference table instead of at a council chamber. What I want to do is run down the list with you. Things that are in progress, we can update, we can discuss. You can tell us you don't want this anymore, pull the plug. We want it faster, we want whatever. Things that we still are pending or that we're early on in progress, we can discuss about whether or not we want to keep them. Hopefully, we'll go for about 45 minutes, work through what we can, and then we will come back with the next, and this is an ongoing process until we actually get a true priority list that we can work from. So we're still doing in the cleanup phase that we had prior to the budget, where we talked about what we had accomplished for the year. These are the things that are ongoing now. So can we go to the my clicker? Oh, there, perfect. Oh my. Okay, so can we zoom that at all? No, we're stuck with that. Okay, you have your list in front of you, so we'll work off that, and I'll read for the audience. So we have the Azure Hills Church kitchen improvements. Those are in progress. Actually, they're working out there over the last couple of days. Go ahead.
Well, I had talked to Bill about this, and a lot of these are not our priorities, they're staff list. So if you're going to go through every one, we'll be here forever.
So how would you like to attack it?
I'd like to just take the ones that were city council priorities and just focus on those. Because we have no, like the Greens group, that's in progress. There's nothing we can say about it.
Okay. Is it all right if I touch base with some of these real quick without getting in depth, just so that you're caught up? So the
Mayor,
Azure Hills, they're
Hold
in progress.
on. Mayor Pro Tem, you had something?
Thank you. You know, it seems to me that is true. There are some things in here that are staff priorities because they're either have started or otherwise, or they might be some things that are down on our list a little bit, but we just don't want to forget them. My thought, and I'm just going to throw that for what it's worth, the most important thing that we can pay attention to are kind of two-edged, and that is development that yields tax payback. That's number one for me. In other words, Quick Quack Car Wash, Starbucks, and so on, Gateway, GT Pit Stop development, anything that is in the process, I can't gauge or do I want to superimpose any kind of priorities in relation to that other than if it's going to create payback to us, then that only makes good business sense. The next one down, as far as I'm concerned, is, and that's the way I kind of reprioritize the list, infrastructure development that increases asset valuation. For example, storm drain master plan, infrastructure to recharge groundwater, traffic circulation study, those kinds of things that are waiting in the wings that we're either trying to generate funds for, and so we need to produce some paper to be able to, get an estimate put together so we can determine if we can go after some outside funds or, whatever. But what we don't want to do is stick our head in the sand like past administrations and just say, well, it's road, but, the county put the road in and what are we going to do about it? That doesn't work. So that, to me, some of the items, traffic circulation study, update city emergency operation plan, those things come right on you. And Barton Road streetscape, slurry seal, West Barton Bridge replacement, those are all citywide benefiters, but we're going to pour some money into them. It may not be only our money, but it definitely is going to increase our quality of life and asset valuation, which is a big deal. After that, we start getting into the stuff that we just don't want to lose track of. And on the lose track of thing, I saw, I put it as other, in other words, necessary evils. The condemned auditorium. We don't have any control over that, but we do want to make sure that what happens in there is going to be a quality of life issue. And frankly, putting a parking lot in there arbitrarily just doesn't fit the goal. And so I don't know how they control that, but, like a post office, I don't know where that came from. We got post offices out the yang. Neighborhood watch program expansion, I think that's good, but it's something that we might have in place that needs to be increased. And finally, miscellaneous stuff to watch, in other words, low priority. In other words, the kitchen improvements at Azure Hills STA Church, it's already in the process. Bleeding control kit. Somebody went to a seminar and they want to try to get, to follow up with that. That's good. Truck and bus ordinance, that's going to have to be brand new. Commercial residential property maintenance enforcement, you guys are already doing that, but is there something that we need to do to bolster up the ordinance itself to make it, more enforceable? Those kinds of things. Lighting in the city council chamber were already done. Anyway, that kind of stuff. Youth appointment to Parks Commission won't die on that hill, but it's something that's a little bit longer term. So that's the way I looked at your list. It seemed to make a lot more sense for me, at least that way. And I don't know about my colleagues, but just I couldn't tolerate the laundry list version based on which departments were going to be working on them. That works for you, it doesn't work for me.
So
I couldn't care less what departments.
So with that, it sounds like you've done some work. And do you have a list? It's as good a place as any
Of
to
course I
start.
do. I got a little tiny one and I got a big one.
Well, since you've done the homework,
Yeah.
let's work from your list and then we can go from there.
Yeah, and then what Mayor Pro Tem and Councilor Robles was talking about, because we wanted to know, our priorities at the council, we requested, and where's it at? The building and the planning, that's already in the works. But on the council, some of us might not say, well, we don't need that, or let's just get rid of it and start over, or let's move forward. That's what we're talking about, but we still like to know, how far along, the stuff is, and that would just be on a regular report, because everything that's already been passed in building and planning, and that's already in the works. And like Mayor Pro Tem would like to know what the update. And then like, for the school district tearing down that building, because I know they said parking lot, but then, I heard that they have to put, a K buildings in there and a preschool or something, so they have to do something else on there. But yeah, if you want to do off of Mayor Pro Tem's list and go from there, I mean, what do you,
we'll
or
check
what did you
these.
have planned, Conrad?
That's great. This is a discussion session and really a free-form way to get it started. And we work from there. And I love the Mayor Pro Tem's idea, and we can kind of check these off as we work down the list. And whatever's left, we can come back and touch base, or if you want to go in deeper, we can go in deeper.
Now,
So-
a question on this list, the city council, I mean, this is what I would have did. I would have did everything that city council requested for our workshop, but is this everything that we requested? It's not all here, right? With
This is
master
what
list?
this is what we have active that has not been addressed.
Okay,
And part of that is, if you don't think we've addressed it appropriately or we missed it, let's
Okay.
put it on there.
all right.
Like I said, I'm really looking at it as a free-form discussion rather than a structured presentation.
Okay,
Yeah, which is, it's supposed to be.
all right. So what do you want to do? You want to listen to Mayor Pro Tem's list? Or do you
I'll
want him to
listen.
get up to the podium and do the thing?
I think you can do it from sitting
Yeah.
there, but yeah,
All right,
we'll
Doug, go ahead,
listen to
buddy.
his and have him go.
We know you got all that rest from sitting around and watching us and stuff, so you good to go?
Sure. From the standpoint of spending money and getting yield, this is what I saw. Quick Quack Car Wash. Like I said, I don't know what the status is, so I'm not going to deal with the status. I'm just saying Quick Quack Car Wash, and I'm not going to say it 10 times to see. And then Starbucks Coffee Shop. Obviously, it's already in the process, but that's that's not a consequence. Lacrosse Development. And can you tell me, because for some reason I get it and then I lose it, what's the RDA lot of 0.80 acres? What is that?
It's that little piece right outside here. There's the piece next door to us with the building. And actually, I'm after the public works guys on this. It's that little piece with all the mustard plants that need to be mowed down.
Okay.
There's a little tiny wedge out there. And it's really so small that by the time you do the setbacks, it's almost undevelopable.
Oh,
I mean, we could maybe put if photo mats were still around, maybe you can get a photo mat on that thing. But that's really about the footprint of a building. So it's a piece, however we ended up with that. From a practical standpoint, someday somebody's going to do something with the lot next to us, and we will come and offer them that piece for sale to do a substantial project.
okay, so then after that, it's the 16-unit Canal Street conditional use permit. Now, what I did is I took your list and I addressed these things right off your list, so they should pretty much match. 16-unit Canal Street conditional use permit by Aegis, or at least they're tied into the project at this point. Development on City Center Drive. I looked at that as something that could be kind of a double edge, because we may want to do some sort of a pre-development package so that some of the work has been mass grading maybe, and some plumbing has been done or futured to the project, but then we get it back in tax increment.
So let me come back. You asked, and we'll jump to these as you go, just so a little
Yeah,
bit
I
of.
can make you a copy.
No, it's just so that, in case any of you have questions on it,
Okay.
that lacrosse development, that's the little piece on lacrosse.
Yeah.
It's two weird-shaped lots. We've worked with the developer on that. He's having a hard time finding anything that would actually really fit. It's even the way the lots are shaped, it's really hard to get a gas station or anything in there. So we're still working on that.
Okay.
So you ask about the lot next door, we got that. That 16-unit canal, it's on a canal street on the north end of Canal. I don't know how familiar you are with that. It's pretty much, as it is, a dead entity. They could not get access across the canal from the city of Riverside. That was not a non-revocable access.
Okay.
So we are looking at other opportunities with them, and it probably is going to end up being a general plan amendment and zone change to put in something like a mini storage or something there that is, if Riverside cuts off their access, they don't go broke because they can't get in and out of their buildings.
Yeah, the question to me, although I know we're not, getting into that kind of a thing, but it seems to me that that canal right away or whatever it is, has been penetrated several times. There's a driveway that runs across it. In fact, there's several driveways. How do they all of a sudden put their feet in the dirt and say, hey, you can't do that? So it would seem to me that it might be worth to pursue that way.
So we've pursued that. Riverside comes back. They'll be glad to give an easement on that, but not a non-revocable. So basically, at any point, they can pull their easement back.
No,
That's-
because they can't
that's
do that
their
with a
stance.
driveway.
That's their stance, which is why they're not going to build the project.
And I think
Because
we
now
should
you
be
can't
ready
get in
to
and out.
arm with guns there.
So I think we have a different opportunity for that one.
Then I had development on City Center Drive.
That is actually in planning right now,
Okay.
and we're looking at a dentist's office and oral facial surgery in there. So
Okay.
we're in planning for that. Gateway, I think we've beat our brains about that for quite a while already. And you guys should be fairly well up on that. The draft EIR is out for circulation right now. So and we're looking at the 30-day comment period. So we're planning on having that in Planning Commission sometime in the early fall.
Can I ask a question? Are we going to see that draft EI? I mean, it's a public document. Are we going to see that thing before it gets to a point where it's almost a no-go back?
It is out right now for comment to.
Because they've
the
changed the
state
product a
clearing-
lot.
It's out for comment to the state clearinghouse right now, so we can get you a copy, all
Yeah,
7,000 pages or whatever that thing
I'm
is.
scared of that. Then Grand Terrace Road Development, Aegis. Is that the same thing, or what is that?
No, he's got a little piece of property there he's trying to do a couple of units on.
Oh.
It's a weird shape, and the project keeps changing depending on what, they're still doing the land planning on that.
Oh,
And you know better than anybody how
Oh, yeah.
malleable that is.
And then, of course, Greens Group, that long-distance situation. And-
That one we're all pretty up on, yes.
GT Pit Stop Development, I'm not sure where that is now.
We have closed the property sale. So to do that, they needed a piece of property on the, kind of at the back end of the cul-de-sac. That sale has closed, so now it's in their court to work with the development process. We have some preliminary designs, so this is going to start the true planning process here probably by the end of the month.
I wasn't, you gave us the address, and I should have looked it up that way, but 21801 and 21823 Barton Road, the light assembly and light manufacturing, and we have so few of those come before us that,
That is getting ready to go out to EIR. It's on, just before you go over the railroad bridge on Barton Road into Colton, across from the old Stater Brothers. Some of
Yep.
those
Okay.
old buildings, the old metal buildings, we've torn down a lot of them. They were really homeless attractors. There's a manufacturing facility that's a brand-new one
Got
looking
it.
to go on that site.
got it, okay. And I wasn't sure, tenant improvements always mean more money, but Loud Burger Restaurant tenant improvement, is this above what they've got?
Actually, yes, and that's a really exciting piece. So he wants to move to the east. There used to be dry cleaners in there,
Oh, yeah,
and he wants to expand in there and do some sit-down dining, kind of a bar service, and have really more of a destination type than just a burger joint.
so you're making my point all the way through here. Bottom line is, this is all worth money.
That's,
And, any good business has a tendency to try to go after the things that can, either short-term or long-term, get us cash coming back.
and he's doing great with the business. He's looking to grow. It's
There
exciting.
you go. Commerce Way expansion, I think that's the same thing as something else, but, Mr. TV Video, obviously, somebody purchased that property, but now they're just kind of sitting on it.
Somebody purchased that, and we are in the final review, I'd say. Well, I don't think we're going to put it back out one more time. They want to
Okay.
put a gas station convenience store in that corner. One of the interesting things is that as they do that, it's already pre-plumbed as an EV charging. So they will have EV charging stations and gas pumps with the intention to, over time, phase out the gas pumps and turn it into an EV station as we phase out gas vehicles. So it's kind of an exciting project in that we're looking a little bit into the future on that one.
Now, I put land planning, the PETA donated parcel, only because of the long, the very long fuse that we have on something like that, because in order to be able to look for money, you have to have something on paper to show to people. And then after that, then you can start spending some of that money maybe, or you wait until you gather up the money. Anyway, it's an old story. But in that time frame, it eventually is going to be worth, I think, quality of life money. But it just takes so long that if you don't get started on it, it'll...
So and actually that one does fall back on me, as we've kind of pushed out, we've looked at some architects and really not found anybody the right guy, without throwing a bunch of money at it, to get some really conceptual plans for that. And we plan on doing that this next fiscal year, is seeing really high-level conceptual plans for what that would look like. Because once, like you said, once we know more or less what we want, then we can start looking for something more specific.
I think our biggest thing is going to be a space planning thing, along with dirt. We need to know where our dirt's going to go, and if it doesn't balance, then we got to figure out what we're going to do. But those two things are our initial phase in relation to that. So you got that kind of a thing that you're looking for. Hollywood video conversion, that's pretty obvious. Stater Brothers expansion, I took that as being one of the, just expanding into the other areas. And I don't think they've had a lot of pushback on marketable spaces. I don't know.
We have not, for the Hollywood video, we haven't had any real people interested in that site. And then anything additional on the Stater Brothers, there hasn't been interest. But we are working with both property owners, when they bring somebody in to kind of work with them and see what we can get them to fit.
Well, that applies to the Walgreens Center expansion too.
As
So all three of those are in the same
all three
boat.
are future economic development that we're actively seeking somebody to go in there, preferably not another fast food, and something that is a little bit more tax generator retail driven.
Okay, so do you want me to keep going, or what do you?
No, I'm going to...
Okay.
Okay, so we understand plan, but let's get to the thing for the council if they want to go. And of course, the city council will start with the enforcement of commercial property maintenance. This is what was brought for future agenda items, correct, Conrad? All the things the city council?
Some of these are future agenda items, yes.
So let's see if the council wants to proceed and continue on with that or just kill it. So, Sylvia, what you have?
I brought up another popular item, prohibiting use of gas leaf blowers, but I haven't seen any municipality be successful with it. Banning gas blowers.
Yeah, that's on there. Well,
Yeah.
let's start at the top, so we'll stay in line here. So enforcement of commercial property maintenance is, you don't know who brought that up, do you? You don't have a list? I don't remember who brought these up.
Where are we? Where's the top?
It is the,
Top for city council?
yeah, it's about the seventh one down there. I don't know who brought that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was an item that was requested by former mayor, an agenda item.
So what was it, to enforce property maintenance? Do we already have something like that?
Sorry.
To enforce property maintenance on commercial property?
We do not, outside of what's in the general code with code enforcement. So there would, and how we would do that, I don't know, but is that something that we want to bring back and look at, property maintenance for commercial properties?
I'm very interested in that because I think it's very galling and distracting that when you have a major shopping center and also the smaller ones, and you have paved surfaces that I wouldn't call paved anymore, a person can get their heels stuck in it, they can fall. There has to, we're supposed to be here for health and safety. enforcement, and it seems like that's not happening. You know, I went to my chiropractors and, you know, all they had was dirt on the hill, and when we had the acting city manager, you know, so what they did is they threw a little bit of loose paving on it, and they called that a fix. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I agree with
Yeah.
Councilmember Robles, and I strongly support that this stays on here.
Oh, yes.
Because, yeah, we have a problem with, some of the buildings have the facades falling off the front of them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we don't want
it's
blight.
danger.
Yeah.
So can we, is it all right with you if we treat these as future agenda items? And I think that rule is two of you
Yes,
have to
that's
give
what
a
we're
thumbs
going
up,
through.
and we'll keep it as future agenda items. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a keeper.
All right.
All right.
The next one, explore steps to secure a post office. I don't even know how you begin on that. That's a federal level. So,
Maybe you can ask your congressman to get off, stop worrying about Planned Parenthood, and maybe his office can deal with it. I don't think so.
that was from,
I don't know why we need one.
all right, so we'll scratch that one.
Is
that- you guys
that's a
agree on that?
thumbs down?
Yeah.
All right.
So need for greater speed reduction and control in the city. I think, don't you have planned for a speed,
So the one thing we've done, and if you notice the new streets that we've paved, they all have white lines on the side. And we've created that to create the minimum lane width, so you feel like the road is narrower. Hopefully that it feels like you're driving in a narrower street.
Calming.
And a little bit of calming, a little bit of slowing down. We have to do a a speed survey coming up this year. We have to do it during school. We can't do it during the summer and cheat. So this school year. And then what comes out of that is the speed limit is the 80th percentile of what is driven. So it's not what we would like it to be, it's what people are driving. So we're trying to put these calming measures in place first, and then do the speed survey. We're probably not gonna like the answers we get out of it.
all right, so
But we can come back, if it's all right with you, maybe we can come back and do this once we have the speed survey done, and come back and discuss that as, you know, what other methods we have, and
Yeah, because I know a lot of these streets, even mine, you know, I always know when the freeway's backed up because they fly up my street, but yeah. All right,
Okay.
so,
Hold on.
go ahead. Sue.
On this, you know, on some of these, if we could have like a quarterly city online newsletter that, you know, you talk about these things and when they're coming and what the process would be, because everyone thinks we're not doing anything.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, planning commission reviews city general plan and direct staff to prepare a schedule. Is that what you brought to Doug? The planning
So-
commission?
But it has to happen every 10 years
Yeah.
anyway.
actually, we're doing the housing element right now.
Okay,
So when the housing element's done, we will go into the general plan update.
all right,
So those two pieces are kind of consistent. We are late on that. That should have been done about 3 years ago.
all right. And then revised truck route, isn't that on the agenda tonight?
We are doing, okay, so let's go back to the general plan. Are we okay with putting that aside for now?
For how
And then-
long?
Okay,
For how long, though?
until we get the housing element, and then the intention is that we will go straight into the general plan update, and then you
Yeah.
will see that.
I mean, but if we're overdue on it already,
You're working on it.
yeah, you're looking at a year from now, maybe, or 6
So
months?
probably, by the time we get housing element done, it'll be 9 months or so, maybe
Okay.
a year.
Thank you.
All right, revisit the truck route.
We will be discussing that this evening as information, and then taking direction from you based on that information.
And Santa Ana River Trails, urban greeting grant, and we still want to do that, right, the Santa Ana River Trails, or?
Yeah, but, you know,
Sure.
it can be a long-term glacial. I mean, it took the county, I started it in the 80s, and it took about the year 2005 for it to happen. But it's worthwhile.
So do you just want a presentation or an update for that, to let you know where we're at?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the storm drain master plan, which we do need, especially, well, last year, we even had sinkholes, so. Are we on the master plan? Do we have a master plan for that? Or any update on that, or?
We do not, we have a storm drain plan. Our storm drain system is literally culverts making street crossings. We do not have a master storm drain system. This will take some investment of funds, because that's something that we need to hire an engineer, develop that master plan, and we are looking at tens or possibly even hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the plan. And from there, we have an idea of where we need to go over the next generation. This is not a quick kill.
Question, is this something that we could do a bond assessment on? I mean, is this something that as a resident, a property owner, that is part of our?
We could do bond for part of that. From a practical standpoint, I don't know that we can bond enough to do all of it.
Okay.
It is, you know, the little storm drain repair that we did ended up at about $200 a lineal foot. So start measuring from the top of Pico to the bottom at $200 a foot. And, you know, then we need to do DeBerry and Van Buren and a couple of other places. So we're looking in the, you know, a substantial amount. Unfortunately, it hasn't been done since the city started, and it's going to take a generation to catch this up. And just like planting a tree, you know, the best day to plant a tree was 40 years ago. The second best day is today. So this is the second best day to start the storm drain plan.
Well, the same with
But
the, all right, so the same with the storm water infrastructure, recharge groundwater.
they're tied hand in hand.
Councilman Henderson, you had a question?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Apologize for being late. Mr. City Manager, if we don't plan for storm drain now, when do we?
Oh, I'm making the argument that we should start planning right now.
I mean, paying for an engineer and the work done
Yes,
on it.
yes, and this is something that, as we look at our fiscal priorities over the next year, we need to add this in there and start doing the engineering for that. Because every year we wait is another year till it gets done, is basically the way this is gonna lay out.
And recently, at least over the last 5 years, maybe longer, the storm events have been more severe and more significant. And we have some constituents that live on Michigan in Pico that are hoping that we take the first steps in having a storm drain plan, a master storm drain plan for the city designed so that we can fund it on an incremental basis going forward.
We're in session here.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think this is something that we need to keep at the top of our priority list and divert funding to it as we can and really focus on that in the coming years to get the plan in place and then work towards putting something in place to fund and actually build this thing.
Any other questions on storm drain? About the storm water, recharge groundwater?
Those go hand in hand because the storm drain water has to go somewhere. Oh, the vacuum.
Sorry about that.
Those go hand in hand. The storm drain water has to go somewhere. We can't just shed it and dump it into our neighboring communities or into the Santa Ana River. We need to create detention basins and percolation ponds so that we can recharge our groundwater here.
Okay, so that's still going, and this street, and the storm drain channel cleanup, it's all the same? Or was that on the planning, or was that on the council thing? Oh, Public Works, so that's already scheduled. All right. Streetlights? Existing
Streetlights, actually, I'm exploring that right now. I should be able to get back to you here in a couple of, probably a month or so. And looking at adding streetlights to certain areas. Our streetlights are provided by Edison. We pay a monthly bill for those. And then looking to expand and have a true streetlight program, identify places that we need streetlights and be able to add those as we go.
All right.
So I think that's an important one to keep.
And then the traffic study, does that go hand in hand with the other?
It's certainly different than the truck route. It would probably be included in the general plan update under the circulation element. If that's something that you choose to bring back as a council independently and look at, we can do that. But it will probably be something that's tied to the circulation element.
Okay.
So we can tuck that into that?
Yeah, we'll probably tuck it
Okay.
into that, if you guys agree. All right, update city's emergency operation plan.
So part of that is going to be part of the general plan update. Part of that is also something that we need to look at as a group. Is that something that, what is our plan today? And I have a vested interest in this because when disasters happen, city managers get fired. So I'd like to avoid that.
And I go, uh-huh.
You're on, first thing. So I'd like to avoid that. So it is, I'd like to keep that on there, that we do have a plan and really identify our risks and what the likelihood of those risks are. Some of the things, the freeway is a major transportation corridor. There are risks associated with that. We have railroads coming through portions of the city that are high risk. Low likelihood, but when it happens, it'll be catastrophic.
Okay.
There's other risks that are probably a higher likelihood, but a less, citywide catastrophe. If Blue Mountain catches on fire, yes, the people that are up against the mountain face risk, but the city as a whole, it's not catastrophic. So we need to look at those, evaluate, and come up really with an action plan for us, independent of the general plan update. So I'd like to keep that there.
Councilmember Allen?
Hey, Mr. City Manager, do we have a certified hazard mitigation plan?
We do as part of the general.
Is that part of the general plan or the
Yeah.
emergency operations plan?
The hazard mitigation plan, the emergency operation plan is a small subset of that,
Okay,
but it's something that I think we need to beef up and have more meat on it and be able to address more clearly.
okay.
In a previous community, the first time we started this and tried it, we activated the EOC, ran our disaster, and the entire goal was to order pizza for the people in the room. We could not accomplish that task by working through the processes we had in place. So frankly, we're probably in the same boat today. If we opened our EOC today, we could probably not order pizza by following planning, logistics, and operations to get a pizza delivered here. So that area is going to take some work.
All right. That's your question. The vacant property ordinance review?
Do we want to look at that? I think that came in when there were a lot of vacant properties, during the
Council, you want to look at that one still, or?
I think Darcy McNabo, it was about some municipalities tax people that don't do anything with their buildings. It's an interesting concept, because I know there was some years, we're in session, please.
Was that,
So we're in, so it was, dear Lord,
Darcy McAvoy was
Yeah,
looking at
so
that.
it was, there's, I know some shopping center owner here that didn't want to do anything with his property. We did face that at one point. So it's an interesting thing to possibly look at. Not a high priority, but something that we should keep on the list.
So not a high priority, but keep it in the back burner just in case.
Okay?
All right, so we'll go to second page. Create master plan for long-term underground utilities.
That falls in the same, probably not the same level of priority as the storm drain. Edison has pretty much curtailed their Rule 20 money. So they used to have money for undergrounding. That money's pretty much gone, and with no intention of them starting or refunding any of that. Our challenge with that is, we should work towards undergrounding. It should have been just like the storm drains. It should have happened a generation ago. It's going to be a generation before we get where we want to be with the undergrounding for two reasons. First, it's a hazard mitigation in an earthquake or anything. Those power lines fall down, and we have issues. If they're in the ground, it's not quite as catastrophic. And secondly, it's just not attractive. So to have an attractive community, we want to get them in the ground. I think this is something we need to continue looking at, but probably behind the storm drain issue.
So
But what is your pleasure on that?
What do you mean that the money that we had in the piggy bank they took it away?
Not our money. Edison had in the past set aside money for communities to do undergrounding work.
So we still have a balance in ours?
Not much. It only comes through new construction,
Yeah, but we had about 200 and some thousand.
which
Not enough to do anything, yeah.
in that it will, underground a couple hundred feet along Barton Road.
All right. Okay, so enforcement of local apartment security.
And let me take my note on the undergrounding utilities before I forget. There was some discussion about security, requiring apartments to have security to join the crime-free multi-housing program, to somehow minimize crime at apartments in the area. Is that something that we want to still pursue? I don't know what nexus we have to force an existing apartment building into something other than working with them through a voluntary basis. But is that something we want to continue to pursue looking at, or?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Mayor, that's private property. It's not our concern, realistically. It's market-driven, and if there's extra security that's needed, it should be something that the owner provides. It doesn't even have to be a track condition for that matter. So I don't think we want to trip that lever.
Harold Duffy, our former city manager, had said there were some situations that the ruling was, we have a responsibility of protection, but apartments require extra protection that we shouldn't have to pay for. So it was some kind of fee that was going to be imposed, or they could hire security. So, and people constantly complain to us about the Highlands, so it seems worthwhile.
Well, yeah, we're getting the complaints from it because it seemed like the management from the apartment complex are on deaf ears. That's why it came to us.
So as a little background, I pulled the stats about 6 months ago on crime rates at a couple of the larger apartment complexes and then the city as a whole. And they're pretty much in line with the rest of the city. It's not that the apartments are any worse on a per capita or a per unit basis. It's just that in that area, there happen to be 200 units and 200 homes take up a bigger area. So there's a perception that there are a lot more calls at the apartment because there's a lot more people. And but on a per capita, it's pretty much even throughout the community.
So we could drop it and put it in our newsletter then, as an educational thing. Your stats.
We can put those, we can put the stats in, we can explore something, and I'm, think a voluntary program, the sheriff's has a, where's he, he's hiding from me. They have a very robust, crime-free multi-housing program, it's voluntary, and we can work with the apartment buildings to work with that, where they really do not allow tenants that are problem tenants to stay.
All right.
But I'm open to hear direction.
I like that.
Yeah, that sounds good. What do you guys think? Plus, our sheriffs, they do patrol there. They go in and out. And I know back in 1989, we lived, well, they call it the Crest now, but right before I got deployed overseas, somebody's tried to steal my truck, and that was a big thing back then is, vehicle theft. So you're always going to have that because you have a dense population right there, and it's easier, as they say, easier to go shopping. And I think, the sheriffs, I know our sheriffs are limited with what we have here, and but yeah, I don't know what we can force on them legally to do that security. But like Councilman Robles said, the stats reports, even like what's happening in our crime, so they can see it.
So we are at 45 now. Are we okay if we draw the line here and pick it up again next meeting and continue with the Mayor Pro Tem's priorities and get a cleaned up list with where we are and what's left and keep grinding this away? This is, for those of you that are here not for this, this is the ugly part of how the sausage is made in the city. So,
Yeah, I think we could break right now. We don't want to overdo it. You guys all right with that? Come back.
Sure.
Well, I know one, real fast was, Councilman Robles talked about prohibit the use of gas leaf blowers. There was nothing on there, right? I mean,
that is on our list to, the perfect cliffhanger to be addressed next time.
a leaf blower, so don't blow out the cliff. All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and close this meeting and reconvene at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.